So with the proliferation of platforms and the availability of content on demand, how do you think this might impact networks the way they are? Will there be, for example, a broadcast network, or will there be a major uh, broadly reached cable network?
I think broadcast will always be there. I mean, it's part of the over-the-air, and they with the news and weather and other services they provide. But I think what's interesting is we're seeing just over the last few weeks live events. You know, the ratings for like live football and baseball and sporting events through the roof. NBC was very successful with The Sound of Music. From a critical standpoint, it took a lot of heat, but they've already announced they're going to do another one. The Grammy nominations in concert was live, got really good ratings. So I think we're going to maybe see the networks going to more live programming, which I think is great. Um, so I think that the broadcast networks will always be there, and they are a great source of content. The original productions are still top notch, but I think you're going to see more cable networks continue to move up in that standing. But I think and I still think a lot of cable networks will still exist, but they're going to be more on demand, whether it's on a set-top box on demand or TV everywhere or whatever. But there's no reason have to tune into some smaller channel on a linear basis just to get their content.
So there's a certain capacity equation here.
So when you look at linear, if you have 30 days in a month, 24 hours in a day, that's about 720 hours in a month they have to fill. But when you actually look at how much different content, it may only be 100 hours because they repeat so much. So you're only talking about 100 hours. In the digital world, one of the challenges has been server space. You can only put so much content out. But now as, again, technology has caught up with it, 100 hours is nothing. You start to look at what Comcast has on their on-demand. It's thousands and tens of thousands and even 100,000s of hours of content available. So many of these linear channels, from a capacity standpoint, you just don't need it. And particularly because none of this content I have to tune in Saturday night at 8 o'clock to watch some show because I know it's either going to be on demand or it's going to be repeated 20 times throughout the week. There's no reason I need to do that. And that's why I think many of these cable channels will need to shrink, particularly on a technical basis as we start increasing HD. I mean, HD channels came along, it took up a lot of bandwidth. Now with 4K and there's talk of 8K, they're going to need a lot more bandwidth for that select maybe 15, 20 channels. You can't get rid of the other 150 sort of repeatable cable channels. Last stats I saw, still people pretty much only watch about 14 different channels. Even though we've got 200 to choose from, we still kind of stick to our 14. What's really interesting is with DVR, I don't even know, like certain channels I watch and programs I like, I don't even know what channel number they are on the guide, on the channel selector, because I DVR it and there it shows up. So I guess I could go in and look at the metadata, but it's kind of irrelevant to me unless I see a promo or something when I play it back on DVR and I want to go find more like content, and from there. But I don't even know where half the channels are on the guide because I pretty much DVR and time shift most everything.
And it's program title, not channel.
Exactly. Yeah. About the only thing again, I think I'm pretty standard of what others are out there. Again, I watch live sports, or I know the news channels. I know where CNN is or whatever. But some of my other, like my favorite narrative or scripted content, I'm not sure what channels they really are, and I think that says a lot.
How do you think connected TVs might impact the business?
From a conceptual standpoint, greatly, because the apps that we have that could be built into our set-top box, and then if you have an Apple TV box and a Roku box, all of a sudden, like in my apartment, I've got 5 or 6 different pieces of hardware. There's no reason all that couldn't be put into a smart TV. I've seen demos where some of the major cable operators, Time Warner, Comcast, are building their set-top boxes into apps that you can play back on the smart TV. Again, it takes away from clutter. It's cheaper for the MVPD because they don't have to service these hardware boxes. There's immense possibility through apps. The challenge with smart TVs, there are 2 big challenges. One the consumer electronic manufacturers, they need to do a better job of when they do upgrades. Model numbers, they don't correlate, so that when they do, say a Samsung TV from 2010 may not be compatible with an upgrade they're doing now in 2013. The upgrades are for the current models, which is a big challenge because, when most people, the last stats I saw was most people buy a new TV every 10 years. It's a big ticket purchase. It's a big bulky thing. I have mine on my wall. I have to bring somebody in to, so it's not something that's a disposable like your phone or even your computer these days, or even tablets. They're cheap enough and they're mobile enough. But a smart TV, it's going to be around for quite a while, and it has to be adaptable as new apps and new things come on board. And the consumer electronic manufacturers haven't done a very good job of it. And I've been to panel discussions where they've actually acknowledged it. They need to do a better job with this. So I think conceptually, smart TVs are the future because it's all there, and you can build it all into that TV. How great it would be to get rid of all these other pieces of hardware. But I think they need to do some work to make this much more modifiable to how quickly the industry changes and the revisions that need to be made.